For this battle report, I'm going to be showcasing the type of BattleTech game that my local group has been playing recently. We use forces that are 7500 BV and drawn from any faction or era in BattleTech setting. Then we use the Mechbay Podcast Mission Pack in order to randomize objectives for the games. For this video, I invited my friend Geoff over to my game room. We did have some technical difficulties while filming, so you'll notice that the overlays in this video have a little bit less detail than normal. I decided to use a force from my favorite successor state, the Free Worlds League. And with 4 mechs I landed at exactly 7500 BV. Up first I have the Guillotine 7M. It's a 464 heavy mech that carries an ER PPC with a capacitor, a Streak SRM6, 2 light PPCs, and 2 ER medium lasers. A Rifleman 7M with 2 light Gauss rifles is my Lance's sniper. It also has 6 ER medium lasers, a small laser, and a Guardian ECM suite. The Hunchback C is what happens when you upgrade the classic Hunchback with clan technology. It has a 6.9 movement profile, an Ultra Autocannon 20, medium pulse lasers, and an ER small laser. Filling out my Lance is an Eris 2N. It's a highly mobile skirmisher thanks to its partial wing giving it a jump of 7, and then it fights effectively at medium or short range with a snub-nosed PPC, 2 MML5s, and 3 small X pulse lasers. I've decided to equip it with Inferno SRMs rather than standard SRMs for this battle. Geoff brought a force from the Draconis Combine featuring 3 mechs supported by a Demolisher heavy tank. His force totaled 7,426 BV. Leading his force is a Grand Dragon 10K. It's a 6.9 heavy mech with anti-penetrative ablation armor. Then it has a snub-nosed PPC, an MRM-20 with Apollo fire control system, and 2 ER medium lasers. It's joined by a Hitosume Kozo, a 55-ton mech with hardened armor, a heavy PPC, 2 ER medium lasers, a hatchet, and triple-strength Myomer. Then Geoff's third mech is a Venom 9KC. It's a very agile light mech with an 8-12-8 movement profile and 3 medium pulse lasers. It has a C3 system, but it's not in use this game. Joining his mechs is a Demolisher heavy tank from the local militia. It's the reinforced model, so it has ballistic reinforced armor and 2 Ultra Autocannon 10s. We chose scenario number 6 from the Mechbay Podcast Mission Pack, Unapproved Demolition. Each of us placed 3 level 1 buildings on our half of the board that our opponent would be trying to destroy. The buildings benefit from stealth armor to make them a little harder to hit at range. For scoring, you earn 1 point for every 10 damage done to your opponent's buildings. Geoff and I decided that we'd play at most 6 turns for this game. And with that, let's get to the game. Geoff won the role to choose which side of the board was his and chose the right side. We then alternated placing our buildings. He did a very good job of hiding his using the terrain on that side of the board so that I wouldn't have line of sight. I had to move first, so I walked my rifleman uphill to a good firing position where it could watch over the 3 buildings on my side of the board. Geoff's first move was getting his Demolisher onto the board and behind one of the big hills. Then I had my Guillotine run on towards the upper side of the map. Geoff ran his Grand Dragon towards the center of the map. And I did the same with my Hunchback. Geoff ran his Hitosume Kozo onto the battlefield towards the upper edge of the map. Then I jumped my Eris onto the board and into a light woods. And Geoff ran his Venom down the middle of the map into a light woods. My rifleman took a couple of long-range shots at Geoff's Grand Dragon, and unsurprisingly missed both. Then Geoff's Hitosume Kozo hit one of my buildings with its heavy PPC and fired its 2 medium lasers to build up heat. That hit on the building put Geoff ahead 1-0 at the end of turn 1. I won initiative on turn 2, so Geoff had to move first. He moved his Demolisher up against the base of the hill. I had my Hunchback run ahead to a light woods in the middle of the map. Then Geoff ran his Hitosume Kozo towards the center of the map too. My Guillotine ran forward and uphill. Then Geoff's Grand Dragon ran adjacent to his forwardmost building. I quickly checked some distances and decided to have my Rifleman stand still at its firing position. Geoff's Venom fired its jump jets and came down in the heavy woods right next to my Hunchback. And then to finish up this turn's movement, I jumped my Eris to short range of his Hitosume Kozo. The Grand Dragon opened fire on the Hunchback, hitting with its PPC. The Hunchback returned fire with all of its weapons, but only a single medium pulse laser hit. My Rifleman supported the Hunchback with its light Gauss rifles, scoring a hit on the Dragon's right arm. Then my Guillotine joined in with its light PPCs. Only one of them hit the Grand Dragon, but it was enough to cause the heavy mech to tumble. Geoff's Venom then fired its pulse lasers into the Hunchback. The 2 hits caused the medium machine to lose its balance and join the Dragon on the ground. The Hitasume Kozo continued targeting the same building, this time hitting with a heavy PPC and a medium laser. My Ares opened fire on the Hitasume Kozo. All three of its small X pulse lasers hit, including a shot to the head, but both of the MML-5s with Infernos missed. With my Hunchback knocked down, Geoff's Venom kicked out and crumpled armor panels on its right leg. At the end of turn 2, Geoff had done enough damage to my buildings to earn 3 points. I still hadn't even targeted his. I won initiative for turn 3, so Geoff had the first move. He used it to get his Demolisher uphill and into the fight. For my first move of the turn, I had my Rifleman stand still. Geoff then ran his Hitasume Kozo forward and into the mist of my buildings. I ran my Guillotine forward, but rough terrain meant it didn't cover much actual ground. Geoff saw an opening there and jumped his Venom into the woods directly behind my Guillotine and 1 level up. I jumped my Ares into the woods adjacent to one of Geoff's buildings. Geoff's Grand Dragon got back to its feet and then ran into the heavy woods next to where my Hunchback was still laying. Then my Hunchback got up and ran to the left side of the dragon, where it could also put a hill between it and the Demolisher. With the Demolisher a relatively easy target, my Guillotine opened up with all 3 of its PPCs. The charged ER PPC and one of the light PPCs missed. The other light PPC struck the right side and did some motive damage. The heavy tank returned fire with its autocannons and blasted armor from the Guillotine's right leg. Then the Venom added to the Guillotine's problems by melting away even more armor with 2 of its medium pulse lasers. The combined damage was enough that the Guillotine fell to the ground. My Hunchback opened fire on the Grand Dragon's left side. Both of its medium pulse lasers hit, but the big autocannon missed again. Geoff's Grand Dragon ignored the incoming fire in order to focus on one of my buildings. Scored hits with both its snub-nose PPC and its MRMs. His Hitasume Kozo joined in against the same building, hitting with its heavy PPC and medium laser. My Rifleman fired down at the rampaging Hitasume Kozo, hitting with both of its light Gauss rifles and 2 ER medium lasers to chip away at its hardened armor. On the other side of the battlefield, my Ares attacked the building adjacent to it with its PPC, Inferno missiles, and small pulse laser. Then it kicked out and did even more damage to the building with its foot. At the end of turn 3, I had gotten on the board, but Geoff was still winning 8-4. I lost initiative for turn 4, so I had to move first. I used that move to get my Guillotine back up to its feet and then have it run downhill towards Geoff's closest building. Geoff responded by running his Grand Dragon through woods and rough terrain in order to get it up on the hill behind my Guillotine. Then I had my Hunchback run adjacent to one of Geoff's buildings, and he had his Demolisher stay where it was. My Ares then fired its jump jets to get right behind the Demolisher. Then his Venom jumped next to the building of mine that he had been targeting. I had my Rifleman continue standing in its firing perch. Then Geoff ran his Hitasume Kozo uphill to get right in front of my Rifleman. Geoff's Venom fired into the building next to it and nearly destroyed it with its 3 medium pulse lasers. My Hunchback twisted and fired at the building it was running by, destroying half of it in a single salvo. Geoff's Demolisher retaliated with 4 autocannon hits to the Hunchback, including critical hits to the actuators of its left arm. My Guillotine shot at the Demolisher, blasting away some of its thick front armor with its PPCs. Then my Ares joined in from the other side, blasting away more of the Demolisher's armor and immobilizing it with an Inferno missile. Back behind my Guillotine, Geoff's Grand Dragon opened fire and hit with its PPC and MRMs. My Rifleman overheated in an attempt to stop the onrushing Hitasume Kozo. Both of its light Gauss rifles missed, but the lasers melted away more of the armor. One hit the head to jostle the mech warrior. The Hitasume Kozo fired back. Its heavy PPC shot was foiled by its minimum range, but the medium laser melted armor from the Rifleman's center torso. Then it kicked out and landed a devastating blow that stripped away the rest of the Rifleman's center torso armor. Somehow, though, it stayed standing. My Ares then kicked at the back of the Demolisher and destroyed the last of its rear armor. From its elevated position behind my Guillotine, Geoff's Grand Dragon kicked out and took the head clean off its target. Then Geoff's Venom kicked and finished demolishing the building it had been targeting. At the end of turn 4, Geoff's lead had narrowed to just 10-9. I lost initiative for turn 5, so I had to move first. I used that move to jump my Eris away from the Demolisher and next to Geoff's building that I hadn't targeted yet. The immobilized Demolisher stayed put. Then Geoff successfully had his Grand Dragon back up downhill and towards my buildings. My Hunchback ran down into one of the washouts and next to Geoff's middle building. Then Geoff's Venom jumped and came down next to one of my undamaged buildings. Slowed by its heat levels, my Rifleman had no real choice other than to stand still. And then Geoff had his Hidetsume Kozo continue to stand over it. My Hunchback opened fire on Geoff's middle building and reduced it to rubble. Then Geoff's Demolisher slammed my Hunchback with 3 autocannon hits, blowing off its left arm and damaging the actuators in its right leg. My Eris unloaded its weapons on the building it was standing next to. Confident in its ability to finish off the Rifleman with another kick, the Hidetsume Kozo only fired its 2 medium lasers at it, and they both missed. Needing to stop the Hidetsume Kozo, the Rifleman fired everything it had and pushed its heat levels even higher. Both light Gauss rifles missed, but every single laser hit. One hit the head, and the fresh injury caused the Hidetsume Kozo's mech warrior to black out. Down below, the Grand Dragon fired on one of my buildings with its PPC and medium-range missiles. Geoff's Venom fired its medium pulse lasers into the same building, and then kicked out and did more damage with its foot. During turn 5, I had done enough damage to get ahead of Geoff, and I now led 18-15. For our final turn, Geoff won initiative. I used my first move to get my Hunchback next to one of his remaining buildings. His immobile Demolisher and unconscious Hidetsume Kozo stood still. My heat-burdened Rifleman also stood still. His Grand Dragon backed up to get adjacent to one of my remaining buildings. My Eris jumped in order to have a short-range shot at his leftmost building, and then his Venom walked adjacent to the same building that his Grand Dragon was standing near. My Eris fired everything it had into the building it was targeting, hitting with everything other than 4 of the Inferno warheads. My Hunchback twisted and fired into its target, nearly destroying the building. Geoff's Grand Dragon fired everything it had into my building. And his Venom did the same. Unable to target any buildings, my Rifleman fired its light Gauss rifles at Geoff's Dragon and missed both shots. Then it turned its attention back to the Hidetsume Kozo and melted a little bit of armor with its small laser. Needing to focus on the objective, Geoff's Demolisher turned towards one of my buildings and hit it with all 4 of its autocannon shots. With the building near it still standing, the Grand Dragon kicked out and did more damage to it. Then the Venom joined in and hit the building with its foot. After that round, our game ended, and I had secured a narrow 27-26 victory over Geoff. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to use these scenarios at home or with your local playgroups, I'll put a link to them in the description below. And also, if you aren't already listening to the Mechbay Podcast, you should check them out. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from me, you can subscribe here on YouTube, at scottsgameroom.com, or on Patreon.